this is a bit of theory. Those of you perhaps systems analysts, you might see this very simple matrix, and I'm going to ask you a question in a minute on Menti on this. But this is a service process matrix. Basically, it said if you know, the theory is if you want low volume, you can actually have quite bespoke, tailored, fitted things. So PhDs might come here, whereas you know, if you want high volume, you have to standardize things far more, even simplify them a lot more to get there. So I'm using this as a way of how we compromised in our process of assessment as we were building our accreditation system. My examples here, I bring examples from the world of motoring. So up here, yeah, you know, the world famous Rolls-Royce car, everyone that's built is different, is unique, but they do this on relatively low volumes. VW, they do huge quantities, but they're far more standardized. You can get different choices made, but you know they're far more standardized output. It's very difficult to find amongst car manufacturers current examples of where there's waste or there's it doesn't fit. But in the past, one of the parts of the downfall of General Motors was that they offered too much variety. So they held too much stock. They had too many spare parts. They had too many different models competing with each other across their brands. And very famously, although it was quite a low output, the Model T Ford, as Henry Ford purportedly said, you can have any color as long as it's black. Do you have a standardized system, one size fits all, or do you want to move towards a more flexible system of accreditation? So it's still got that integrity, but it also recognizes that in the digital world, you know, we're still not at a steady state of what's good practice. We've got lots of different peaks and troughs of good practice, and we're not there yet. So how can we be there with accreditation, saying, you know, we know what good practice is and that's what we're looking for? All we can do is ask the questions and see if in a quality circle sort of way things add up. This is a picture of the EFMD online process. Again, I've shared that before, and it's very familiar to you, I would imagine. There's a sort of an eligibility stage. You know, are you a university to start with, and then we're your accreditor. There's an application stage at which there's a self-assessment, typically a review based on the criteria, the standards and the criteria that are set. And then there'll be a review, and that typically fills the gaps or makes links between things, you know, looking for consistency. If that's what the university has told us its strategy is, then do the individual academics know that? Are they heading in that direction, or are they heading in their own directions? You know, if the university decided that it will go down the distance learning route, then it's very apt to ask the academics, what training and support have you had in that? You know, and then you get sort of evidence from different places. But the online element, what we found, don't forget about the award report and recommendation, but I want to focus on that we were asked, well, how do you review online programs? And we had in our minds, actually, we want to be able to do a lot of these and quite efficiently, and setting up physical visits, even once every 3 years, is going to be expensive for the institution because they pay for that. And it's going to be, you know, difficult logistically. And as well, of course, COVID came in the middle of our project, which meant no one could travel anyway. So right from the outset, we set that up as yeah, we're going to have the review online. We said, okay, sometimes, and I'll give you an opportunity, one example where we physically visited somewhere. It was an institution not too far away from yourselves, geographically, and they said to us, no, you can't look at our website, our VLE, because it's secret. It's confidential. We said, but you've asked us to accredit you. We need to look at that. And so what we had to do was to get one of our experts who lived in that city to go physically to be able to, they would not allow us access to their website. They would allow, and I managed the Zoom from the UK to say to our expert who visited them, now, can you do this? Ask that question, ask them to bring this screen up, show this. And that was done. But largely, we reserved the right to do that, but largely we tried to do it, and we successfully did it online. Because, and it's a point Giga made at the very outset of this workshop, sometimes there's no physical presence. There's just an office, a sort of a set of desks, and that's the organisation that's managing the distance learning. We've got to take out of our heads the fact that this has to be a physical university somewhere. So, if we're looking at other providers, even within universities, it can be, yeah, we're doing it. It's under our brand name, but it's a virtual operation. It's separate. It's done separately. I'll mention it because it's a good positive point that if we stop sending people around the world on aeroplanes, and it's far more sustainable, and the cost of the whole exercise can be brought down. But what we do, a review can't possibly look at every question, because we look for evidence coming from different areas, the self-assessment, the database of, usually an online database now, of documents and data that answer other questions. And so we really focus in a review on, and we use, for an online course, we had a review that lasted 3 to 4 hours. In a program review, we're anticipating we'll use sort of 1.5 days, but separate, sort of 3 separate sessions to do this for a program. And we do this by making sure those reviews are focused on the gaps, not on those things that we know already, but on the gaps. Having a strict agenda, timed meetings with people invited into those meetings. So if we're going to have a meeting with the top management, well, they have to show to us, these are the people we deem to be the top management. If we have with students, and we do always ask to meet with the students or get the students' perspective, we'll have a separate meeting with them. We also ask that there's a variety of respondents, that if it's a program, who's teaching on that program? Let us choose who we talk to on that. And we want to include, because it's sometimes a virtual setup, those remote partners, those providers. If you're being provided by an online program manager and they're delivering a lot of the logistics for your program, then we've got to want to talk to them as well. And that's far easier to do online. And one of our bits of advice is, let's try and avoid meetings where you're looking at a huge desk and you're looking on a tiny screen at people around a huge desk, and you ultimately can't tell who's talking, or, as Giga pointed out, you can't tell who's prompting who to answer in a particular way. On individual screens, you can talk to individual people. And if you marshal those things, a lot of planning up front, who's in those meetings. And another thing we do is say, we don't want the same people in every meeting. So the dean or the head of the department or the head of the chair or whoever it might be might say, yeah, I want to be in every meeting. We say, no, thank you. Be in those meetings where you want, the most effect, but not in every meeting. And then we get that triangulated view. So how do we know what we're looking at on screen is genuine? Well, first of all, we talk to people, we build up to a review, so we get an understanding of how cooperative they are and how trusting they are through our eligibility criteria as well. Because as I said, we want to see everything that the students see. We want to see what's behind the scenes as well, what the processes are. And if they start being obstructive or not telling us, like the example I gave you, then we